So you can download the Ubuntu CDs. I know that a little while back we had a bunch of them in here. Did we give all those away?
I think so, but I got a guy in my class that has a bunch of them at the house. I'll have to think if he can bring some.
Oh, maybe next meeting.
Yeah.
You know, when you come in, bring them. But
There's a new release now, because I did get a few of those CDs that were distributed, and then I went to the website and there's like a new release or a new package to download. You can either request for them to ship you some for free, or you
Yeah.
can download
Yeah.
the images and browse the stuff. Whatever you.
I guess the guy that put Ubuntu together is independently wealthy, and he just flooded the market with these CDs. I mean, just shipping them to anybody who requests them at no charge. You know, that was his original marketing ploy. You know, was to flood user groups and stuff like that with the CDs, so that people would start using it. And this distribution is actually really like newbie friendly. Newbie is someone that's just getting into FOSS software, open source stuff. And it's really easy to install. The package management is simple. The installation process is simple. The hardware detection is really, really good. So I'll take you through what I saw during the install process, so you guys can get a feel of what you would expect if you were to install this on your machine. I honestly think that you could install this on your grandmother's machine, and and set her up with Firefox for email or for web browsing, and Evolution for email, and I mean, it'd be pretty cherry, and it's stable. So on with the show. This is the initial screen where you can put in boot options if you have weird hardware or whatnot, but most of the time you just press enter and then it'll start the kernel. It'll ask you what language. Obviously it's going to be English for the folks in here, or maybe not. After that, it should ask you to choose your location. And the keyboard layout, there's a whole bunch of different keyboard layouts that people can have. Standard is American English, and that'll take care of most settings. And then it'll start to detect the hardware. And then it'll load modules, kernel modules, to load specific parts of the hardware and whatnot, so that it'll work during the install, specifically disk drives and networking components and whatnot. Then you give your computer a host name. You can call it my computer, or living room computer, or laptop, or just leave it at the default Ubuntu. It's not real critical at getting the right host name for just something that you're going to be using as a desktop. If it was a server computer out on the internet, it would be a little bit different, but we're not doing that. We're just going to use this as a desktop, so you could pretty much put any host name in there you'd like. It doesn't like special characters or really long names, from what I can tell. So you give it a host name, and then it'll detect the rest of the hardware, and then it'll ask you to partition the disks. Generally, you just tell it to erase the entire disk and let it do it for you. It'll take care of it, and you don't have to manually edit. Manually editing the partition table is usually for more advanced uses. If you're worried about security or specific uses of your computer, sometimes editing the partition table can be beneficial, but in this particular instance, it's not so much so. So just select the default, erase entire disk, and then it'll tell you what it's going to do, and if you want to write the changes. The way Ubuntu sets it up is you just have one big root partition and a swap partition, and that's it. Now, from a security standpoint, this isn't the best way to do it. but you know, for desktop use, it's fine. And it will install the base system. Actually, what it's going to do is it's going to copy over the binaries and verify that they have the right checksum. And that's for security purposes as well. So it goes through that process, copying the packages to the hard drive, and then it asks you what time zone you're in. And then you're asked to set up an initial user. I put in Steve-O, you put in whatever name you'd like. Unlike other distributions, this distribution doesn't ask you for a root password. It just asks you for a regular user password, and I'll get to that a little bit later. It's kind of that's kind of different. First time I've ever seen that. The initial environment to get to the root account is you do sudo -i if you want to get into a shell and mess around in a root shell, and you just use this account as essentially kind of your root account. Anyhow, so set up the username, and then it's going to ask for a password, and then it'll tell you that the first stage is complete and it wants to reboot. So it'll reboot it, and then you'll see it going through the boot process here. That's what it looks like. And then it will start to configure your packages and extract them. Now, Ubuntu is based on a popular distribution called Debian. In fact, it uses the same package management and whatnot. Debian's been around for a long time, and there are a lot of hardcore users that absolutely love it. The way it does things is really cool. It's an all binary type distribution, so there's no source compiling like say Gentoo, which is kind of popular amongst here. It's a lot like Red Hat RPMs, which it just detects what type of architecture you're on. If you're on a Mac, a PowerPC, or 64-bit, or just a plain vanilla i386, it'll select the packages and put the binaries where they need to be and configure it the best it can. When you first reboot, it does all this, and it starts to install these Debian packages that it extracted from the CD during the install process. And this is just a couple screenshots of this process here. We'll set some stuff up, and then it'll start to get into starting services and whatnot. As it goes along, it'll set it up. Also, I forgot to take a screenshot of what was it? Oh shoot, I forgot. There's one process in the middle of this that I forgot to put in here. Oh, that was screen resolution. You want to select the modes that your screen can go on. If you just press escape, usually it'll auto detect it, so that's no big deal. And then you will get a Genome login manager, which they're really cool login managers. They're simple, they look neat, and this is what they look like. So when you first log in, you got the desktop going on here, and after that, you can go to System, Administration, and then Synaptic Package Manager, and that's where you're going to install packages. This is kind of it's got a vanilla system with a Genome desktop, and I'll just give you an example of how to install a package. You go to System, Administration, and then Synaptic Package Manager. And this is what that looks like. And you have all these check marks or check boxes that you can select different packages to install. And I wanted to install a KDE desktop environment. So you tell it to mark for installation, and then apply, and then it'll tell you that there's a whole bunch of different packages, dependencies they're called, and you can just press apply after that, and it'll start to download the files. This is kind of a view. If you select the console view, it'll go through and it'll tell you what it's doing, what it's unpacking, what it's configuring, so on and so forth. And let's see. This is just another process, the installation process. I was kind of fooling around here. Downloads the files, and then starts to apply the packages. What I found was I wanted to install KDE, and I was going about this the wrong way. There's actually, if you prefer KDE, you can install something called Ubuntu Desktop and Ubuntu default settings, and that'll take care of all the settings and stuff like that. It'll get KDE prepared for the system, and it's an all-in-one shot deal on the website. On Ubuntu.com, it talks about that in its wiki page, which is is the internet connection kind of slow here?
Yes.
Anyhow, on the wiki page, just do a wiki search and then type in KDE. And you have down here, installing KDE. And it gives you a tip here. Ubuntu desktops, like the whole kit and caboodle. KDE will just install kind of like a very base thing. So will KDE Core, and then it'll tell you different different packages and whatnot. But Ubuntu desktop will give you the whole kit and caboodle. So I selected that in this install, and then I had 133. It'd probably be 150 packages to download. Now, I like to download stuff directly from the internet, and keep things up to date that way, because a lot of times you'll see that the CD-ROM has a lot of outdated software. It's pretty much a month later. There's new packages available, so I just turn the option off, and I'll show you where you can do that in the package manager. Just turn the option off to download the packages from the internet. Or if you have dial-up or no internet connectivity, you can just use the CD-ROM for this purpose, and unselect all the internet sources. It depends on what type of setup you have and what you're comfortable with. But it takes a while to download the packages. Oh, and the installation from the point where I was booting up with the live CD to where it actually logs you in is about 40-45 minutes. After that's done, it's going to ask you what the default display manager is going to be. I keep it on GDM, which is the Genome Desktop Manager, and I have my to-do list. I have a work to-do list and a personal one. I have my calendar, which will have all my appointments. It's got an alarm, so as soon as it boots up, it'll give you an alert as to what's going on and whatnot. It's got a journal feature, which when you select things that are to do, it'll keep track of that. Contact has RSS feeds. I have Microsoft and some KDE stuff here, and you just tell it to fetch the feeds, and it'll go through and mark all the different things that are available so you can read it. It's kind of like a newsreader, so to speak. We got a contact manager. Contact's really cool, and then I have Evolution. I have Evolution, and that's just like Outlook. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to plug this into an Exchange server, a Windows 2000 Exchange server, it would work fine. But Evolution is really cool. Let's see here. Let's go back to the desktop. So you have all that in here. You have contact. Which has, you have all these different things. You can even use mail, the local version of Kmail instead of Evolution if you wanted to, and it works fine if you're not doing anything fancy. You set up your POP and SMTP and all that other stuff, and it works like a champ. So you can do everything from one place. You have a system place, so you can go to your home folder. You can go to storage media, like say you mount a USB key. It'll pop up there. Remote places would be if you're on a network and you wanted to access a share or whatnot. You have the Office system. So you have Open Office Drawing, which is kind of like a, I'm trying to think of a similar program. No, it's a lot. It's got a lot more features and stuff. The drawing program.
Visio?
Yeah, a lot like Visio. There you go. You have Presentation, which is like PowerPoint, Spreadsheet, which is like Excel, and then the Word, which is like Microsoft Word. Now this is all I use on my desktop is Linux. I haven't had Windows loaded on this in some time, and I use my computer every day, and all these applications are awesome. Like this is Word, and you can do all the normal stuff you can do. Spell check. You got your font layouts. You have your background colors, your indentation. Thesaurus. Mail merge, which is like, I don't know if you guys have a lot of addresses and you're sending out a bunch of mailers. It does almost everything that Microsoft Office can do. And actually, believe it or not, there's something called Star Office, which is probably the best, really low cost Office application out there. I think it's $70 a year or something to license it, and it can read like any type of Office format. But I mean, it costs money, but it doesn't cost the exorbitant fee of like, what was it, $350 for
$389 for retail.
Yeah, for Microsoft Office Professional. It's such a joke.
Just do labels also?
Oh yeah, I mean you can go to templates. Oh yeah, there you go. New labels, and it'll ask you what the format is. It's got the brand, the type in the brand. It's got the codes and stuff like that. So I mean, it's pretty darn cool. It'll give you the option to boot into KDE or Windows Maker or Enlightenment. There's all sorts of different types of desktop desktop environments. The one that this one is in right here in particular is called Genome. There's two popular desktops environments, and one is Genome and the other is KDE. Genome is more like Mac. KDE is more like Windows. If you're looking at a type of comparison to the environments, and then you have like weird stuff like Windows Manager and Enlightenment, or what are some other ones? IceWM. Rat poison. Ooh, yeah.
XFCE, kill the mouse.
Yeah, there's a ton of them, but those other ones are kind of like if people like to hack their desktop environment, and it's really not suited for people that are new to Linux. I'd stick with Genome or KDE depending on what you're comfortable with. Now, I personally like KDE, so that's why I installed KDE. That's the first thing I did. I tell it to use keep using Genome Desktop Manager for my login manager. And
Pretty.
what?
Because it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it's pretty. It is pretty. Although the KDM is looking better as of late. So it'll start to install the software, and then I log out, and under the place where it says down here called Session, you'll see a new option called KDE. So instead of logging into Genome, you log into KDE. And it'll ask you, you chose it KDE for this session, do you want to make it default, or do you want to just use the session? I made it default, and then it starts the KDE environment. That's pretty. And in the KDE environment, you just have kind of a different setup. KDE has the same thing as the Synaptic package manager, except it's called Synaptic, which is the KDE version of it. I still like the Synaptic version better. I was just taking a screenshot of that. You can do the web browsing, package management, just the same as you did before. In this particular part right here, I check or I press the button up here called Mark All Upgrades. So it goes out to the internet and it sees what's available, and you press that, and then it'll upgrade all your packages. So if you want to keep your system up to date and you have internet access, that's a good way of doing it. It'll tell you, and once you say yes, I want to do a smart upgrade, it'll tell you what packages it's going to upgrade. And it'll install them, and academic. And that's pretty much it. Let me actually go to the desktop now, so I can show you around. Ubuntu's a really cool distribution.
We did that all under VMware.
Yeah. So you have the desktop here, and it's got all specific settings for you know, you have your office applications. Contact, I use this on my desktop actually. It's really cool. Let's remove. Just give you an idea. This is that drawing program. You know, you can draw stuff and you know, draw circles and link stuff to itself. You know, I have a flow chart that I made in this, and I'm in the process of making a network schematic of my network layout. So the draw program's cool. The Excel program works well. I can show you different examples that I have that I use if you wanted. Multimedia, it's got just great multimedia support. It's got all the kind of mainstream applications. It even has K3B, which is an awesome CD burning application. In fact, it kicks the pants out of most Windows burning applications. You know, it burns DVDs, CDs, audio CDs, VCDs, and best of all, it's free. It's really well developed. Internet applications, you can do desktop sharing. You know, if you poke a hole in your router the correct way, you can request assistance from someone remotely, and they can try to help you out. BitTorrent, they have a couple different instant messenger applications. Game is the one that I use. most of the time. Has a couple IRC clients, terminal server client, you know, like Microsoft Remote Desktop. Video conferencing, Firefox web browser, which is a you know, the de facto standard. If you don't have Firefox, you need to get it because it's an awesome browser. Let's see here. Graphics, the GIMP, that's a lot like Photoshop. You have different image viewers and whatnot. KUKA, it's a scan and OCR program. K-Snapshot, if you want to take pictures of your desktop. Xsane, image scanning, so if you want to scan pictures. And then it's got a bunch of cool games. Now I'll give you an example of something. Okay, so we have all these different games, right? But there's one particular game I want. It's called what, Bubbles. What's it? Frozen Bubbles.
Frozen Bubble?
Yeah, Frozen Bubbles is my addict game.
Yeah, so did it.
I absolutely love this game. So let's install that package, and I'll show you kind of how that works. So we'll go to the menu here, and then System, and then we'll go to Synaptic Package Manager. It'll ask for the root password, and you type that in. And let's do a search for Frozen. Oh, look at the description in there. Let's try that. No. They have to have it. This isn't the right example. Let's go to sections and then games and amusement. Let's look for Frozen Bubbles. I can't believe they don't have Frozen Bubbles.
Is this Frozen Bubble?
Is it Frozen Bubble?
Yeah. Maybe they figured it's already on every distro. Food one.
They want to be different. Okay. Games and amusement. Let's see. K Foul Eggs. Kodo, Conquest, K Poker, K-Tron. Those are all K applications.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
do I have something that's unflagged here? Because I know they have a ton of. Close these searches. Well, okay, let's just install a random game. K Asteroids, that sounds good. So I tell it to mark for installation, and once it's marked, let's try. Let's do another one. Let's do the K-Tron one too. Let's install both of those packages. So once you check the ones that you want out of here, and it's got the description on the side here of what the application is. You know, Tetris, Tron clone, Potato Guy, you know, all that different stuff. Once you have those checked, then you press apply, and it'll tell you how much has to be downloaded, and then you press apply, and it'll also tell you what's going to be installed here if you wanted to. And you press apply, and then it'll go through and it'll download the files. You can click on terminal here to look at it do its thing. That kind of thing amuses you. It amuses me. Set all that stuff up, and then you just press close. And now when we go to games, we should have under arcade, it's got K-Tron. We just installed that. And, you know, you're now playing K-Tron, which wasn't installed before, but is now installed. Uh-oh.
I hope you're not blue, Steve.
And then, what was that other game I installed? K-Asteroids. Which I think this one's pretty cool, actually. It's got neat graphics in it.
So the package management will install any sort of software, but for some reason it's only pulling up K programs right now. Is that the?
Yeah,
It's very strange.
let me look at the preferences here, because it's got, well, maybe it's got some filters, search filters, section, exclude selections, selected selections, include selected selections.
You want to do? Can you still use apt-get and apt?
I think you can use it on the command line, yeah, but I didn't want to go
Yeah,
into
you're right.
command line stuff.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I really wanted to get frozen bubbles on there, but you have the repositories. These are where it looks for packages. You have the CD, Ubuntu. It'll give you what resources it's gonna ask for. And let's see, community maintained. Let's put in some other ones, huh?
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Resources to check.
Let's check some more of those resources and say yes. So it's going to download some repository information from those ones that we checked, that we added, and it should give us some options. And maybe frozen bubbles will be in there.
Make Steve happy.
Yeah. I mean, you could do all sorts of cool things, you know, go into Control Center. This is just KDE, by the way. Genome's a whole different type of environment. You can you change your desktop background to, you know, to whatever you want. It's got some cool logos and, you know, different things that you can do there. You have the screensavers that you can check out.
You gotta do blue screen of death, Steve.
Is that on here?
Yeah, it's BSOD.
Where is it?
Oh,
OpenGL. I'm having trouble getting my OpenGL working, so you're not going to see the really cool screensavers. You know, like OpenGL, it's just got the nutty, nutty cool stuff. Yeah, but you could do the screensaver things. Change your splash screen so it's got different types of splash screens available. It's got different styles of windows. It's really customizable. Font sizes, all that stuff you would do in the control panel in KDE. That's still downloading. The way that if you're used to Windows, the file system is different. It doesn't have C drive or D drive or any of that other stuff. It's all mounted under root. If you were to look at what root was, this is what it would look like. it has just a bunch of folders. Now, see, on other systems, you have the home directory, take for example, that's on a separate disk a lot of times, you know, or the temp directory or whatnot. But it all seems like one contiguous file structure, rather than with Windows, each disk has a separate drive letter, you know, and that's very restrictive because, you know, what if you had like a really huge machine, you would run out at 26, you know, so it's not very efficient. But Linux, it just sees everything as a file pretty much. And you have your home directory, and this is where you can store stuff and make folders and text files, and you know, it's like your Microsoft Windows My Documents folder. And you can put stuff in there. I'll show you what my desktop looks like with KDE. Okay, let's search for the bubbles again. Ah, there it is. Pop out the bubbles. So tell it to mark for installation. Oh, and it'll. This is written in Perl, if you can believe it.
The whole interface?
Yeah.
Maybe, probably is different, but I doubt that Perl, like.
No, dude, it's all.
All Perl?
Yeah, pretty much all Perl. I mean, you got the graphics libraries and stuff like that.
They're all
you know.
GTK
Yeah.
or Qt, excuse me.
Yeah, but it's from what I understand,
It's just the interface. It's an interface too. Yeah, Qt.
yeah. Let's so I added some of those repositories, and that in turn allowed me to install Frozen Bubbles. I think what let's see, it's 13 megabytes. It's, I'll let that install.
Is there a subfolder limitation with Linux? You know, Windows, you can have like up to.
That depends on your file
200
system.
whatever it is.
You have different types of file system that Linux can run under.
That question just popped in my head, and I was just curious.
Yeah, in certain file systems like Riser FS, I don't know what the hard limit is.
So I'm looking that up on Google right now.
Oh, yeah, Drew will answer that question. Usually they're pretty flexible. Some are better than others. Like take Riser FS for example. That file system is great for a lot of really small files. Like if you had 20,000 files in one directory, it handles that really well. Whereas like if you did that on ext2 file system, performance would choke. You know, it would really. I've run into some errors before when I've tried to do certain things because I've run scripts that have created a lot of files, but I can't remember the circumstances with a lot of those.
You actually exceeded the number of folders.
I did something weird where, you know, I couldn't do something because it kept on saying no.
You get to a certain limit, and you're like, why is it not
Yeah,
going
exactly. I should be able to do this, but I wasn't. You know, like this is my home folder. I have my documents, you know, my scripts that I make and whatnot. You know, my Perl folder. It's got all my Perl scripts in it. Like take for example, where was that? I have a new digital camera. It's my new toy, and I wanted to write a script to download the pictures, sort them out, resize them through ImageMagick, and extract the movies, and then run the movies through a transcoding application that'll reduce it down so I can post all this stuff on the web. And that's this isn't beginning stuff here. It's just kind of going over.
You're probably enjoying.
Yeah. Yeah. We all like what we write. There it is. Flash load. Yeah.
Like the bouncing icon, like what is that pretty hard to? It just comes like installed, right?
That's a KDE
Oh,
thing.
yeah, it's a plugin. It's a theme plugin.
Okay.
And yeah, the bouncy icon thing is yeah, it's got Ubuntu themes. It's got, you know, Debian themes. It's kind of cool, you know, like they spin around or whatever. The cursors are big. Anyhow, this is the script I wrote, and you do it in a command line environment, and I have an alias set up, so you know, I just tell it download pictures, and then it'll open up my pictures folder, and you know, like what it does is after you run it, the description it asks what the description of the pictures is, and then after that it appends the date and the time at the end, and then the description. It replaces any white space with underscores, and it makes a folder called movies and pics, and then you have the high resolution, the low resolution, and then the web post, and then it's also got like a, you know, image gallery, and then I put in the descriptions, and it makes all that stuff. Yeah.
Just HTML right there.
Yeah, it's this is a web gallery that was created by Conqueror. If you go into Tools, Create Image Gallery.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it'll make a, you know, all that stuff on the fly. But yeah, that's what the little script does. It makes my life a little easier by just automating all the downloading of the pictures and whatnot. Did anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to see or go over or anything like that? Off the top of your head?
How secure is it?
How secure is it? No, I don't particularly know that. I don't think it has any. Let me check this out.
Well, it is using like some of Debian's packages, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, I heard it's okay. Let me open up. I'm going to open up a console, guys. Don't get.
A whole lot safer than Windows?
Yeah, a whole lot safer than Windows.
To answer the question about the file system depth, extended 2 and extended 3 are the only ones I can find an answer for, and that's 1024 deep, it looks like. Riser and JFS look like they don't have a limit, or at least they don't say that they have a limit.
I can't even imagine that.
What are the options during install for your file systems? Or do you know for
This one, it doesn't give you an option. It goes ext.
XFS?
You totally can though. Like when it first.
With the first boot up, you can tell it
Yeah.
what format to do?
Yeah, but it's like nested. Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Let's see. It doesn't have, Ubuntu doesn't have any default ports open. Yeah, so, you know, I have remote desktop open, or, you know, for sharing, but that's it. I actually explicitly told that. So when you first get into your new environment, it doesn't have any services running. Like Windows has, you know, a grip of services running right off the bat, you know, whereas this doesn't have any ports open from the outside at all. So, you know, there's really nothing to hack directly. If your machine were to be compromised, it would have to be a from the inside out hack, you know, where you download content that causes a buffer overflow, or, you know, something to that extent. But you know, anything that comes out of the package without any services started is, you know, pretty secure. Then you have physical security, you know, making sure that you lock your workstation, you know, when you walk away from it. You tell it to lock session, and it'll ask for a password.
You know, what were you saying about the root, on how the root works on the system?
Oh yeah, if you did want to get into a console, it doesn't, by the default, it doesn't ask you for a root password, so you have to type in sudo, -I, and then it'll ask for your regular password, and it'll drop you into a root environment. From there, you can type in password and change your root password, and exit out of the environment, and then you just set your root password. But most people like standard users, for the most part, I mean, you really don't need to get into a shell too much unless you want to do some major tweaking and whatnot. But I really dig on the simplicity of Ubuntu, and it comes stacked with some really great applications. I mean, pretty much anything that you would need to get on the internet or check email, and a whole bunch of other things. You know, use it as an office application. You know, use it to scan things or you know, do graphic stuff. Play games. They have a lot of addictive games. And if you wanted to waste some time.
The whole use of a computer.
Yeah, so okay, it's downloaded the frozen bubble stuff, so I'll show you guys what that looks like. Yeah, if you go to Ubuntu.com, or you go to Google and you search for Ubuntu, you have support, you have wiki, you can download the ISOs here, and you have the latest and greatest. You know, like it says Ubuntu 5.04 released, which is the installation that I have here, and you know, you could click on that, and I think it'll take you to a link where it says download here, or ship it, free CDs. You know how I was telling you that cat sends out free CDs? You could, you know, it says the Ubuntu team will send out CDs free of charge for you to install and share. So maybe we'll do that for the lug, you know, next meeting.
I have a quick question, Steve.
Yeah.
I just installed the older version, Warthog, I think is the version, something like that, on my dad's computer. Do you think, like, on the wiki there, it would have, like, you know, directions on how to upgrade from that version onto the...
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think the package management thing would be like keeping your Gen 2 system, you know, take for example, updated. You know, you would just do an upgrade packages, and it'll keep things updated, because all the distributions is pretty much changes to the installation process maybe, or you know, updating packages, or you know, like if there's major releases in KDE or Genome or something like that. It's just a maintenance thing, you know, for people that are just installing. But if you wanted to upgrade, it would just be a matter of you know, upgrading the packages through the Synaptic package manager, or I think there might even be an option, I'm not sure, I've never tried this, but to get the new CD and put it in. Because to be honest with you, for the most part, as long as your home partition stays the same, that's where all your settings are. They're just hidden, you can't see them. So as long as your home folder stays the same, you could pretty much wipe out every other folder and then, you know, do that. But the thing is that this partitions it in a way that, you know, it's all or nothing with the root partition and whatnot. So it looks like Frozen Bubbles is installed. And that's the cool thing about these things, is they take care of all the dependencies for you. And there we go, Frozen Bubble. And yeah, let's see here. Start one player game. Oops. Yeah, didn't do very good. See, the goal of the game is to knock out same colors, like, slide. And it gets harder. Oh. That's the extent of this game.
It's very addictive.
It is.
It's got good music too.
Yeah.
He's a winner.
I don't have sound on here because I didn't configure VMware for that. But yeah, installing packages is pretty easy. In fact, you know, if you just want to just go nutty and.
You can't use it also on those levels.
I'm trying to press escape. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so, I mean, anything that you wanted, I mean, you know, you just search for the application, throw out an application that one of you guys likes.
Does it have a system-wide update function?
Yes, it does. Mark all upgrades. You can click all that on that, and it'll ask you if you want to do a smart upgrade or a default upgrade. You know, and I already updated it earlier, but it would give you packages that are available for updates. And I think it kind of selects stable stuff. In the package management, you can go to repositories and do the settings here. It'll ask you how often it's going to check for software updates, if you want it to be, you know, like 1 day or 2 days or whatever. If you want to automatically download the upgradable packages, show disabled software sources, you know, because maybe they're unstable or insecure. But if you just don't care, then, you know, go for it. It's got different settings for all that stuff. In the preferences, what to look for, how it's formatted, you know, I mean, what type of network connection you want to use, if you want to go through a proxy, how you want to treat your upgrades, if you always prefer the highest version or always prefer the installed version, so it'll only upgrade if absolutely necessary. You know, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's a neat little package interface. I've never. It's a lot easier than Red Hat in my opinion. And you have different restricted stuffs. Like if you really wanted to go nutty with like some of the cutting edge stuff, you can install that. You know, all these different types of applications. You know, science stuff. I wonder if they have, under science, I wonder if they have,
K-stars.
yeah, they have some really cool stuff. I mean, you know, chemistry stuff. There's a lot of astronomy stuff. There you go, K-stars, desktop planetarium for KDE. I think I have some of that stuff installed.
Springfield Finds. You have like Simpsons books?
Edutainment, science. Oh, there it is. K-stars. Loading up. I already have it installed on this one. Kind of a cool side note about the K-stars is that if you have the right type of telescope, you can actually hook it into your serial port and it'll like, you know, zoom in on the particular part of the sky that you want. You know, I mean, the telescopes are expensive, but you know, like you.
Also, Steve,
Costco actually has one that will work.
Really?
They stole it last year. It was about $250. It was pretty cheap.
That's not
Yeah,
bad
they
at all.
actually, the motors have actually got cheaper. The thing that's great with that is they also integrated CCD display right into it. So literally, you could be in it on a cold winter night with it motorized outside and having the camera on the eyepiece, and it'll show the picture on the sidebar of it. You literally don't have to go outside anymore.
Yeah, you just highlight a star and it'll, if it knows its name, you know, Ursula Majoris, you could tell it to center and track, or, you know, angular distance to, or, I mean, it's got some really cool features, different view types, constellations and whatnot, you know, so it'll show all the constellations, or, I don't know. Mikey's the one to kind of give you an overview of this stuff because he really digs on all this stuff, ham radio. Where's the part that it asks you where, you know, like if you have a object, you know, like it shows the major stars and stuff
Oh,
like
just click
that.
on those windows at the top, like those right there. Those will enable what you want to see.
I gotcha. Yeah, but K stars is pretty darn cool.
Like there's planets, if you want to just see the planets, just click on the planet one.
Yeah, that's Cassiopeia.
You can just take them all out except for that.
You can zoom in and zoom out.
What's really cool about it is you can actually see an actual photograph of Andromeda.
Yeah, this is what we could see right now. You know, you have different accesses and views and whatnot. It's pretty awesome stuff, and they have some killer applications. I'm trying to think of under edutainment. Let's see, periodic table. You know, you just have a whole bunch of different things that you can check out. I fooled with this the other day. I was looking at different things, and you know, the weights. It's got pictures of what different things look like. It's like, you know, oxygen. Yeah, it's, you know, a blank tube, but it's pretty cool.
What was that?
Huh?
Which one did you?
Oh, it was called periodic table. It's a calcium.
Cool.
Teaching tools. It's got like you know, something you create exams in. It's got a you know, if you want to learn how to touch type, you know, you can.
Evidently, I have it installed.
Yeah, no training, lecture load. You know, you do different things as far as that's concerned. Just a lot of neat little toys, you know. A lot of cool things that you can mess with. And the package management allows you to select all sorts of different things after you enable the repositories. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions before I wrap this up?
Yeah. You have different distributions like Red Hat and so forth and so on. And you also have the very same kernel. You have KDE. You know, what makes the different distributions different? Why are some geared more towards, you know, security and others towards, you know, like home use?
It depends on what you're using it for, or, you know, even in particular who is using it. You know, if you're installing it on Grandma's computer, you're not going to ask her to install Gentoo. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Slackware.
yeah, or Yellow Dog or whatever. You know, stuff that's just all console based, and it's kind of a pain to get it into a GUI. But things like this, you know, binary distributions, you just pop in the CD, put in a few options, and that brings you up to a desktop. Nothing real complex. The package management isn't complex.
Hardware setup.
Yeah, hardware setup. They don't really need to know the inner workings. So something like this is
3 minutes.
okay. I'm almost wrapping it up. So something like this is perfect for that type of user. And then you have different distributions, like take OpenBSD for example. You know, it's considered one of the most secure operating systems on the planet. But to get it up and running and to get things configured on it is a royal pain.
And not really desktop environment type.
Oh yeah, I know there's some people that use it as a desktop. But
I've seen it done.
I'm like, okay, you know, whatever.
I wouldn't be my choice for a desktop. Server, maybe.
Yeah,
desktop,
server.
no.
You know, I used to use OpenBSD for my server stuff, and then there were just some things I was like, you know, forget it. I'm just going to Gentoo, you know, because it was such a pain sometimes. But for rock solid stuff, you know, there's different levels of that. What's a security distribution for Linux? Slackware. You know, Gentoo is for the people that like to tweak stuff. I mean, even from the base install on, it's just very, you know, you learn a lot about your system, and you're able to do a lot of things that you know, normal users wouldn't be able to do because you just know how to do it because of how you've installed your system.
If you want a really secure system for a home system, Slack's probably your best choice. If you want to optimize every little aspect out of your system, Gentoo or Sorcerer are very good distributions. Not for the weak of heart, or if people with slow machines. Because you literally are going to compile the entire operating system from scratch. Very long install process, but
But, you know, the state of Linux distributions is, they're getting really slick. Like, I really like, Ubuntu. It's something that I would like, want to install on my mom's machine or something, But yeah, there's different preferences. Red Hat, like what people are used to, or it's just a matter of preference.
All are pretty much equally powerful, just ease of use in essence.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, what you like, ease of use, what you're looking for, and the cool thing is it's so diverse. Windows, you only have Windows. Linux, you have a lot of different types of distributions, a lot of choices, and granted, sometimes it can be frustrating, but sometimes it can be really cool. Learn a lot. So, any other questions?
Minimum system requirements. What do you think?
I think it's no different than most of the other Linux system requirements. I think you could probably, as long as you have a video card, and a processor, and some RAM, it'll run it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't go anything like below 133 megahertz unless you're asking for pain. But yeah, that's about it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I have one better idea of what it possibly do.
Did that help you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. You want to turn off camera?
I think it's turning itself off.
And you want to play with things? I'd get it. It's really cool.